Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy McGrath, and welcome to Pathways to Health, featuring Dr. George Maloney. Dr. Maloney has practiced in both traditional and alternative medicine for many years, and he's here today to give us some simple and straightforward tips on how to live a healthier life. Today's topic will be the Mediterranean diet. And for starters, I have the pyramid right here. So we'll talk about it. Dr. Maloney, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay. So Dr. Maloney, could you just start by briefly summarizing the Mediterranean diet and your thoughts on why it has really come onto the scene and become so popular?
Sure. The Mediterranean diet, as advocated for use in the United States, is an attempt to mimic or replicate the diet found in countries that are along the Mediterranean Sea. Countries such as southern France, Spain, southern Italy, and some other countries also.
And why is that? Why is it so important to look to those countries? Are there certain outcomes that we've seen?
Yes, the outcomes were known since 1950s when Americans studied this population, American scientists, and they discovered that there was unusual longevity among the inhabitants of these countries. And they also noticed their diet was quite different from the standard American diet that we have nowadays. And they noticed people were also healthy and had a good health span well into their 80s and 90s.
So it's not just longevity, right, Dr. Maloney? It's also quality of life.
I think it's all about quality of life. And if you were to speak to many people in the United States, they would tell you that they're not really interested in living to 100 unless they're functioning, unless they're independent, and unless they're enjoying a high quality.
Right. Okay. So for starters, then, give us an example of what one or two Mediterranean meals, what they look like.
Yeah, so a typical Mediterranean breakfast might be steel cut oats with blueberries.
Okay.
Relatively simple, but still high in nutrients. We're looking for nutrient-rich foods. Another more standard meal could be salmon with spinach.
Okay.
And you may have, for a spice, you may put garlic on the spinach and lemon on the fish.
Okay, well, we're going to get to the importance of spices later in the show because I know you'd like to speak about that. But for those of us who are in a hurry, what's the difference between using steel cut oats and me just popping the processed packages in the microwave? Is there a big difference there?
Yeah, I'm afraid there is, even though there's more convenience with the packages, the prepackaged food, but you're losing a lot of fiber and you are losing some nutrients also. And oftentimes the prepackaged meals, they've added sugar,
Right.
which unfortunately is a negative.
Right. And so many people throughout this country are watching or battling with high A1C that we're always concerned with the sugar content now.
Yes, and I think now that we've seen so many problems with chronic inflammation, which can be a result of high glucose levels, I think it's added concern to try to get the sugar out.
Right. Okay. So one aspect of the Mediterranean diet, speaking of inflammation and anti-inflammation. One aspect of it is the use of olive oil.
Yeah, so
And I
olive
think
oil
I've
is,
heard-
yeah, olive oil is thought to be one of the leading high points, leading quality points of the Mediterranean diet, and directly tied to its success in promoting health. Because olive oil really contains some antioxidants and some oleic acid, and these are anti-inflammatory.
So, because we want this show to be helpful to the average person who's not in the medical journals all the time, can you just touch briefly upon this emphasis we're starting to see lately on fighting inflammation? You know, we're hearing a lot about that inflammation can be the causes of so many things. Can you just touch upon that?
Well, certainly if you have an acute injury, if you have a minor cut on your finger, inflammation starts the healing process, brings the cells that are necessary to promote healing, the
Okay,
white blood cells and the red blood cells. But when that persists chronically, chronic inflammation is very much a negative to the body, and many diseases, it turns out, are related to chronic inflammation.
so for example, if your A1C, if your blood sugar is constantly being spiked, is that an example of possible inflammation in the body because your body is constantly fighting it? Is that, I'm not sure if it would be, but
Well, this is going to be a negative, for example, for your liver, and that can start to give you some inflammation in your liver. Your eyes can also become inflamed, secondary to high spikes of blood sugar.
okay. And is the drain on your body to constantly fight those things, is that where the inflammation comes into play as well?
Well, it can be local and it can be general. Yes,
Okay,
can be a general negative.
okay. So I can't touch upon olive oil without talking about the fact that my elders on my Mediterranean side always spoke about the benefits olive oil would have for your skin. Um, and we can't forget about, you know, the relationship between skin and diet. And I know it's important to all women, women my age for sure. Um, can you speak to that a little bit? Is there any evidence that olive oil can have a positive effect on your skin in the long run?
Yes, yes, there is, and I think you can take comfort in the fact that a high quality diet, an anti-inflammatory diet, such as the Mediterranean diet, will result in better appearance in the skin and less wrinkles.
Okay. Now,
That's been studied.
does olive oil have any hydration properties?
Well, it has oleic acid, and it has a lot of fatty acids. These are healthy fats, and I think it can nourish the skin that way.
Okay. So what my grandmother and great grandmother had to say about olive oil and its effect on the skin and its longevity, they knew what they were talking about, right?
They were ahead of their time.
Yes, they may not have known the science behind it, but they knew.
That's right. They were right.
So, the other aspect of the Mediterranean diet, of course, is the consumption of vegetables. Um, can you give us some ideas about, you know, quick and easy vegetables? And can we use frozen vegetables? I know those can be quick and easy. You zap them in the microwave. Are they still nutritious?
Absolutely. Fresh vegetables are great. Frozen vegetables also are positive, maintain most of their nutrients, and canned vegetables as well. Those
Okay,
are all
that's
acceptable in the Mediterranean diet. And those will all be helpful to you because they all are tend to be nutrient rich foods, and they also have good fiber, both soluble fiber and insoluble fiber, which again promotes health.
okay. So I think the reason I brought up like the frozen, for example, is that I think a problem that so many people typically have is that, we have good intentions about eating well, but then, as with all things, life gets in the way. You're very busy, you're working, or they're taking care of kids, and then it's time to cook, and it's very easy. It's very easy just to grab the processed food. So, it's important, I think, for us to look at ways to find quick and easy ways to work with healthy foods.
Absolutely. And so don't feel anything negative about using canned or frozen vegetables.
Great.
As long as long as they're canned vegetables, for example, you want to look for sodium less, no sodium added
Okay.
is a positive. And once we're talking about fruits, you don't really want something packaged in syrup or sugar water,
Right.
which unfortunately, as we say,
Yeah.
is a negative. You want the natural fruit, the natural sugar that's in fruits to give you the flavor. You really
So,
don't want added sugar, no added
okay.
sugar.
Okay. So, just regular, oranges that you have to peel, apples that you cut up, a banana, that the sugar, the natural sugar that are in those fruits, that's okay.
That's going to be processed better
Okay.
than pure sugar from the sugar bowl, which
Okay.
you should probably throw away.
The sugar bowl, chuck it. Right.
I think so.
And now back to vegetables for a second, Dr. Maloney. Can you tell us what vegetables will give us the best bang for our buck in terms of fiber? Because we know fiber is so important as part of the diet. Any suggestions for us?
Well, I always suggest spinach because it comes ready to eat. You can eat it raw. You can boil it. You can saute it in olive oil, or you can put it in your salad and put extra
Right,
virgin olive oil on it.
right.
Um, that's a nutrient-rich food that also has good fiber. It even contains some lutein, which is protective of the retina of the eye.
Okay. And again, we should mention that all the vegetables you're mentioning, like spinach, it's a premier part of this overall Mediterranean diet.
Yes, they want you to have seafood for your protein predominantly, and then lots of vegetables. Lots of vegetables on
Now,
your.
now you mentioned also the fruits. Um, are there certain, fruits that you favor as part of the Mediterranean diet, like the top tier of fruits that you would recommend?
As I recommend blueberries. Again, it's easy. And it's contains antioxidants, so it's anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
And as we've said, inflammation is your enemy. That's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to, at least with your diet, don't promote inflammation. Try to bring inflammation down.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that even before there was this emphasis and popularity on the Mediterranean diet, there were studies that were starting to show the health benefits of blueberries.
Oh, yes, it's been known for quite some time.
Right.
And
And
again, quick and easy.
yeah,
If it's helpful to you, frozen blueberries also will contain the nutrients that you.
okay, good to know. Um, and any other particular fruits that you favor that you like for, for one reason or another?
Well, the fruit with the highest amount of fiber, at least one of the fruits with among the highest fiber are pears. So I would recommend those. They're good at breakfast time. They're also a great dessert, sliced pears with cinnamon, sliced apples with cinnamon. These are great desserts. And you're relying on cinnamon plus the natural sugar of the fruit for your dessert.
Okay, so that you're mentioning cinnamon is a great segue into my next question for you because, the Mediterranean diet has a lot of focus on spices and the health benefits of spices. So can you speak to that a little bit? Cinnamon and other spices that you would recommend as part of this diet.
Yes, and so I think cinnamon is a great one for desserts because it helps the body control blood sugar. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of people are struggling with high A1C. So I think
Very
it's
good to
very
know.
helpful that way. The other one is garlic, because garlic is very anti-inflammatory. Garlic can easily be added to seafood or chicken breast. You can add, um, I use peeled garlic, sliced, and that can be sauteed. And that maintains all of its anti-inflammatory properties. Also, onions, anything of the onion family, chives, scallions, these are very much anti-inflammatory. In particular, helpful to the liver. So if your liver is being stressed for one reason or another, um, these can be helpful in that way.
And you mentioned just you could saute them with your fish or with your meat.
Exactly. You can just slice them and saute them and you're finished. And I mean, you can deliver the garlic any way you want or the onion any way you want. It's garlic powder. It's
Yeah,
also very convenient, and onion powder, very convenient.
okay.
You can deliver it that way.
I was,
But
in fact, I was just going to ask you about garlic powder. Again, we want this program, Pathways to Health, to focus on simple and easy and quick ways to incorporate a healthy lifestyle. So if garlic powder will work, then let's go for it.
yes, I think some delivery is better than others, and we don't really want to be giving people complex recipes that are going to require time.
Right.
That's why I also mentioned that peeled garlic is ready to go and just slice and cook. But I use a lot of garlic salt and onion powder.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm a garlic powder user myself, so I'm happy to hear that. Um, so now on to one of my favorite aspects of the Mediterranean diet, which is red wine. And to prove it to our audience, I want to point it out right here that it is allowed in the Mediterranean diet. So, Dr. Maloney, can you speak about that a little bit? And obviously, its use in moderation, but
Yes. So this is included. This is an acceptable part of the Mediterranean diet. Some people say that's what makes it so popular. But I do also want to say that this is considered a social event, that you should be drinking your wine with people, with food, and in quite small amounts. That that's how wine maintains its health effect in the Mediterranean.
And if you think about it, if you've been in that country, or you've even programs that you see about, the Italian diet, you'll never see them with goblets of wine. You see very small glasses,
Yes,
little sips of wine.
small glasses of wine, a lot of times a local wine. This is present in Spain, Italy, Greece, other countries of that area.
And what about, what type of red wine, or red wine versus white wine? Any thoughts on that subject? There's so much information out there.
Yes, in the Mediterranean diet, it doesn't seem to make a difference. Certain areas have a white wine, certain areas have red wine. And they almost always are using a local wine. And it doesn't seem to make a difference. It all has a positive effect.
Okay.
There is an argument for red wine because of certain ingredients in the skin, but the Mediterranean diet, that's not an issue. That's not what they're promoting.
Okay,
They're promoting drink your wine when you're with people having a meal, then it will be positive. That's the recommendation. That's what they do.
I've even heard debates about which red wine is healthier than the other. Like I've heard a lot of people promote the health qualities of Pinot Noir. But I think what you're saying is have it in the right setting, in the minimal amount, and it can benefit you.
It's probably much more important than the wine itself.
Yes. Okay.
Than which wine?
Okay. Good to know. So last but not least, I want to talk about the importance of water and hydration, because that's also clearly mentioned in the Mediterranean diet. What about you? Do you drink a lot of water?
I do. I start my day with a glass of water. That's the first thing I do in the morning. And I like Poland Springs predominantly.
Okay. What about seltzer water?
Yeah, I've heard some people say this is not the same, going to give you the same health promotion. I'm not sure about that. I drink bottled water. I do think you want your water to be clean, pure, and some bottled waters are not the same. Really looking for spring water.
Okay.
Some high quality bottle.
The reason I threw out the question about seltzer is that I drink a lot of it. And I'm wondering if I'm based on this program, I'm going to have to switch over. Okay.
Well, you'll have to research that.
Yes, little
and then
further.
you'll have to tell me because I don't know about seltzer.
Okay. So before we wrap up, Dr. Maloney, again, for the ease of our audience, give us 3 quick pathways to health through the Mediterranean diet. 3 quick recommendations.
Well, I'm going to recommend several foods directly.
Okay.
And sometimes people call these superfoods, and some people object to that. But if you're going to try to keep it simple and look for a nutrient-rich food, I would recommend that your protein come from salmon.
Salmon.
And start with salmon.
Okay.
And I would suggest that you pair that with spinach. As I said, it's nutrient rich, it's quick and easy. And then the third thing that I have to say is you have to avoid certain foods because they're pro-inflammation.
Yes.
And those are fried foods and high sugar.
Right.
So those are my three recommendations.
which you do not see those foods on this Mediterranean diet pyramid.
No, you won't see it.
Yes, in fact, those countries consume very little of that type of food.
Right, and unfortunately, a lot of fried foods are, the problem is the oil is used over and over if you're getting this from a restaurant.
Yes,
And that leads to trans fats. Trans fats are highly inflammatory.
right.
No, they're going to lead to certain inflammatory type problems.
Okay. Okay, folks, well, I hope you've gotten some information from us today. We hope to continue to offer Pathways to Health with Dr. Maloney, and we hope to continue to give you basic, simple tips to live a healthier life. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.